How's it going, guys? Today I'll be comparing the Pixel 4a versus the Honor 20 Pro. From my understanding, the Honor 20 Pro is more aimed for the younger adults, so that's why it's just a bit more cheaper than the Huawei phones. The Honor 20 Pro came out like a year ago or even a little bit more than that, and I assume that you can find the price of this phone for roughly the same as the Pixel 4a, maybe just a little bit more. As of right now, I am recording on the phone, so I will put down on the screen what phone I'm using currently. During the talking sessions like this, I am using the Rode Wireless Go, so when I'm comparing the cameras, that's when I will actually use or compare the microphones of the phones. Now moving on to the hardware, the Honor 20 Pro is glass versus plastic on the Pixel 4a, so no competition there. Also, I think the looks on the Honor 20 Pro looks more stunning as well, whereas on the Pixel 4a is more on the bland and boring side. Now they both have fingerprint sensors, but I just gotta give it to the Pixel 4a just because it does have the better placement. So I can either hold it with my left or right hand and I can easily access it, unlike the Honor 20 Pro where it does get a little bit awkward if I use my left hand. Now holding these phones, the Pixel 4a is gonna be more comfortable. I do have smaller hands, so that's the one that I'm gonna go with. So it really depends on your hand size. If you do have bigger hands, then most likely the Honor 20 Pro may be the better one for you. Now one pro that the Pixel 4a has is the headphone jack. So even though I haven't used it for years, it may be for the ones that still do. However, the Honor 20 Pro does have a 2D face unlock, and that's the main way how I get into this phone. So during the day, it does unlock very quickly, it works well, but when it hits nighttime or super dark places, that's where it struggles. Now for performance, both of these phones will do just fine. If you're scrolling through Instagram, Facebook, watching YouTube videos, you shouldn't have any problems. Now, I am sure you can play games on these phones, but just don't expect it to be on the highest settings. If you're doing everyday phone tasks, I'm pretty sure both phones will be just fine. Now for battery life, the Honor phone is physically bigger, so it does have the bigger battery life, therefore it does last longer. Both phones can last me throughout the day. I can even put it to a day and a half if I wanted to, but either way, I will be charging it around roughly the same time. So those are just based on my super casual experience with the phones. Remember, I'm not like a heavy smartphone user, so if you're planning to game on these phones, then expect it to be less than a day. Moving on to the software, to be honest, I would just go for Pixel. It's just way easier to use and it's just more simple. For the Honor, I can't swipe down on the home screen to get to my notification center. All the other Androids I've used has this feature, so doing this is like second nature to me. And also, I can't swipe up to get to my apps. I would have to hit a button for that. And for me, I just think it's a waste of a button or waste of a space because I would rather replace that button for a common app that I would use every day. So the Pixel is gonna be the winner for me, way easier to use and more natural if you're coming from a lot of other Android phones. Now this is the audio test between these two phones, and the Honor 20 Pro does have 4 cameras on the back versus the only 1 camera on the Pixel 4a. Now on the front, there's only one single lens which can shoot up to 1080p, which I will be upscaling to 4K. For video, stabilization is a bit smoother on the 4a. I noticed that every hard step I take on the Honor 20 Pro, you can see those tiny shakes. Another difference I noticed is the color temperature. On the Pixel 4a, it's much warmer, whereas on the Honor 20 Pro, it's cooler. And it seems to me the Pixel 4a is a little bit better at HDR because I can see more in the shadows than the Honor 20 Pro. Now moving on to low light, color temperature are similar, warmer on the Pixel 4a, cooler on the Honor 20 Pro. For the overall image quality, I would pick the Pixel 4a just because it's cleaner and it doesn't have as much micro jitters as the Honor 20 Pro. Front-facing camera for pictures, I'll pick the Pixel 4a just because I do like the skin tones better. On the Honor 20 Pro, it looks like it's really flat. For low light in really dark places, I would pick the Honor 20 Pro just because it looks cleaner overall. You don't see as much noise. Now moving on to the back cameras using portrait mode, it's obvious that the Honor 20 Pro is more flexible since you can use the other lenses to zoom in. On a Pixel, you can pinch to zoom in, but the quality is not going to be as great. Both are really easy to use. You press the shutter button and it works. Now for the cons, the Honor 20 Pro has inconsistent colors just because you're zooming in a lot using the different lenses, so you're going to get some color shift there. On the Pixel, I don't like how zoomed in it is. If you're taking a picture of something in your hands, I feel like you have to reach further out, or if you're taking a picture of a person in a tight room, then it's going to be hard to frame it the way you want. For the background blur, I do prefer the Pixel, and for the colors as well, just because it looks more natural and more flat, whereas on the Honor 20 Pro, it's really contrasty and sometimes it can be a bit too much. The Honor 20 Pro does have a macro lens. I think it's neat to have, but it's really situational, so for the normal person, I don't think it's going to be used too often. For everyday situations, again, it's obvious that the Pixel 4a is going to be limited because it's only a single lens. Now, you can zoom in on the 4a, and I think it looks pretty good, but it's just not going to outbeat a camera that actually has a dedicated telephoto lens. And since you're changing lenses on the Honor 20 Pro, the colors are also inconsistent. One neat thing is the Honor 20 Pro can zoom up to 30x. I don't think it's really usable, but it is a neat trick to have.
For low light, I would stay away from the ultra wide angle lens just because I don't think it can provide enough light, but overall with the other camera lenses, I would say it's pretty clean and it would match up against the Pixel 4a. Now, if you're in the city with a lot of city lights, then I would say it's pretty passable on all the lenses on the Honor 20 Pro, but that's something you don't really have to worry about using the Pixel 4a. Both do have their own night mode, and I would say that the Pixel 4a does have the bigger difference. On the Honor 20 Pro, you can barely notice it. I would say that the texture would be a bit more crispy and clear, but other than that, I think the regular mode on the Honor 20 Pro works perfectly fine. So I think it comes down to what you want. You want flexibility, then the Honor 20 Pro would be better. If you want a solid all-around camera, then the Pixel 4a.
So in the end, I do prefer the Pixel just because it's a simple phone to use. The camera works well throughout the whole day. It really doesn't matter what situation you're in. I can easily rely on it. And also it's Google. If you do get an update, you get it right away. You don't have to wait for anyone or anything. And with this issue of Huawei and US, it's kind of scary, or no one really knows if Honor or Huawei are getting any more updates. But this phone still have Google services, so to be honest, I wouldn't be scared if I couldn't download YouTube or Gmail or any of that Google stuff. But I'll say Honor is still a great choice if you want more camera lenses and you want a bigger screen. So that is my comparison between these two phones. If you are interested, I do have the links down below. You can find me on Instagram, give a like, subscribe, hit the bell, and thanks for watching.